Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be using the Molino Dallagiovanna pizza, and it's got 12% protein on this one. It's made a fantastic pizza, just look at that. Looking forward to cooking some pizza with you, so let's get down to business. Here we go, there's the flour, and for this we're going to use 630 grams of water. Just using the scales to make sure we've got that 630 grams. And then we're going to use 1 gram of yeast, and then we need to mix the yeast and the water together. So when you're using instant yeast, you just need to make sure that all the lumps are taken out. Now we need to gradually add in that Molino Dallagiovanna Per Pizza flour, and we just need to mix that together. So just building it up gradually as we always do, just making sure first off we have that like batter type consistency, building up all the way to that like pastry consistency. So I got this from Amazon along with a few other pizza flours, which I'll be doing a few more videos on in the near future, and it cost around £2 a bag. So the one thing I would say about the flour is it's super fine. It's almost like a dust, and it took on the water really nicely, so nice and easy to work with, probably in the same league as your Caputos and your other leading pizza flours. So by using the technique of gradually adding the flour to the water, just ensures that the actual dough itself is nice and evenly mixed in there, so we don't have any flour lumps or anything like that when it comes to kneading, and it makes sure that the dough is nicely hydrated. So again, just adding a little bit more in there, and you'll see from this camera angle it's now starting to turn more into that like pastry type of consistency as opposed to a batter. So just scraping around there, just making sure that we're getting all that dough incorporated. What we'll be doing next is we just need to tip a little bit of the flour onto the work surface. Just hold a little bit of flour back in the bag, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so let's tip that mixture out onto the flour. There we go. So that is the dough onto the flour, and just doing that so it doesn't stick to your work surface as much. Now I did say a bit earlier, so let's put that flour into the bowl. That's all the remaining flour in the bowl, and now we'll just have a rub around, and doing that just scrapes out all that extra dough, so we're getting as much dough out of that bag of flour as we possibly can. So just add that to the main mix, like so. That's looking fantastic. So let's get ready to do some folding. So we need to fold that mixture into the flour. So there we go. So what we need to do next is start to knead the flour, and what you'll see is all that excess flour that's on the work surface will get incorporated into the mass ball of dough. So it wasn't too sticky, this flour. Probably could have took a little bit more hydration than the 63% that we're currently working with. So as usual, we'll probably have another video with a high hydration. So yeah, really good flour, this one, and it probably could have took a lot more hydration. Probably could have got up to the 70%, maybe even more. We'll have to do a future video on that. Which leads me to say thank you very much for all your fantastic comments on my previous videos, your questions. It's an absolute pleasure talking to you all, and thank you to those that have taken the time to subscribe to the channel. It really is an absolute pleasure to cook fantastic pizza with you, and I hope that it's given you some inspiration to do so. And also please feel free to leave a comment on this video. Have you used Molino Dallagiovanna before? Are you going to use it in the future? If so, please let me know how you get on. It's always nice to see how viewers and subscribers have got on following one of my recipes. It's so interesting to read your success stories. So as you can see on the pictures, this flour is just about ready to be left. So we're just going to bowl it up now. Bowling up really nicely. Look at that, looks fantastic. And the next job is we're going to then leave it on the side, and we're going to cover it for an hour. So after the hour, let's uncover it. Use a dough scraper for this bit, just helps it to get off the work surface a little bit easier. And just get all those bits up. And next it's time to put in the 25 grams of salt. So one of the things I've been asked for, why do you put the salt in an hour after? Well, it's just literally to give the yeast a head start in the fermentation process before I put the salt in, which brings it a little bit more under control. I always tend to find that working the dough by hand rather than using a mixer, giving the yeast a bit of a head start, does help it quite a lot. So we just need to knead it now for 5 minutes. And at this stage, one of my observations were that the dough is really, really silky smooth. Really, really was. It was a pleasure to work with. You really could tell that you're going to get some great pizza. And I'm always a believer in, you can tell by just the touch and the quality of the food that you're preparing, whether you're going to get a good meal out of it or not. And I knew at the time with this Molino Dallagiovanna flour that it was going to be a great pizza that we're going to end up with. So we're noticing that it was getting a little bit sticky, so that's why I'm just doing that little bit of pulling the dough back on the work surface. But it wasn't really sticky, it wasn't excessively sticky, so again, big tick in this flours box. So just in the process now, doing some final kneading, just making sure that try and get that gluten developed in there. So just using the palms of my hands just to try and get all that gluten developed as much as we possibly can at this stage. So now it was just starting to get a bit sticky again, so I thought, well, we'll call it time and we'll ball it up. So now we're going to place it in the mixing bowl and add that shower cap, and we're going to let it rest for 19 hours. So after 19 hours then, let's have a look underneath that shower cap. And I can already tell it's stuck to the top of the shower cap. So don't worry if this happens. Shower caps are really great here because they've got a nice smooth surface on the inside, so the dough doesn't stick too much and you can peel it off quite easily and add it back into the bulk mixture. So let's see what gluten development we've got and what strength we've got in there. Look at that, absolutely fantastic. I can really pull that dough up without it tearing, and I can even pull the whole bowl up. So I know this is going to be a really, really strong dough that we've got here, which is great for pizza making. You don't want anything that's going to tear and rip whilst you've got all your toppings on. So I'll knock that back, and now it's pizza bowl time. 230 grams per pizza bowl. You're going to get 7 following this recipe, so you can get 7 230 gram bowls. So that one's spot on. Bit of this semola flour, and then we'll shape that into a bowl. And again, look at my hands. There's hardly any dough sticking to my hands, so fantastic flour. This is no complaints so far. Looks really, really good. So I'll put that in one of the boxes and then we'll let them rest for 5 hours. So here they are, the before and after. Pizza time's next. Okay, this has to be everybody's favourite, doesn't it? Making the actual pizza itself. So just using a bit of flour to get that out of the pizza box. Comes out nice and easy. Just making sure we put on that bed of semolina flour. Give it a quick couple of rolls in there. Looks fantastic. And then with those fingertips, we just need to then push out towards the edges, making sure we don't touch the edges with those fingers, because that's going to be your crust. And then once we've got it so far, we then need to use the steering wheel method to stretch the base out a little bit more. And this is why it's so important to make sure that we've got built up that strength in the pizza dough, so when we come to stretching it, it's not going to tear. So you get any bubbles, just make sure you pop them on the edge. And now we'll put on some multi tomato sauce. I've said in previous videos, this is my most favourite. It's better than anything I can produce on my own. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful pizza sauce. So on with some Parmigiano and some sun-dried tomatoes. We'll put on now a little bit of grated mozzarella, and then we'll go in with the fresh stuff and just making sure that that's nicely round the edges. Next up, we'll put in some pepperoni. This is the Sainsbury's Taste of Difference pepperoni that we're putting on here. It was absolutely lovely. About £1.50 for a pack. Well worth it. So off to the pizza oven then. We've got the pizza oven at 400 degrees. And on this gas-fired pizza oven, we've got the flame on full. So just speeded up the pictures. I've not cut anything out of this, so you're going to get everything that I did in terms of the cook in the oven. So just warming the turning peel up, and that just makes sure that it becomes easy to turn the pizza when we get it underneath the base. So just turning that now 180 degrees, and you'll see that you've got a little bit of the leoparding effect already on this edge now. So we'll just let that sit there for about 10 to 15 seconds or so, and then we'll warm that turning peel back up again. There we go, and we'll turn that 90 degrees now. So we've got another edge that's not been exposed to that flame at the back. And it just smells absolutely fantastic when you get that pepperoni cooking. It really, really is a beautiful smell indeed. And just making sure that's turning now, so becoming very, very colourful on that crust now. Just giving that final turn, and one more time round. I think we'll just be about there looking at them pepperonis and nicely cupping away. Let's get the pizza peel underneath, looking fantastic. Let's get it inside. So let's have a look underneath. There you go, looks fantastic. The one thing I will say is this pizza was lovely and crispy, so I'll let it tell you itself. So let's open it up. Fantastic, sounds nice and crispy. I have to say this Molino Dallagiovanna Per Pizza was an absolute fantastic pizza flour. Really, really spot on and well worth the money. So if I was you, give it a try if you're looking something for alternative on Caputo. So please leave me a comment. It's always good to read them. And thank you very much for watching, and bye for now.